All right, Russell. Hi, I'm Stan Fitzgerald. I'm the Chief Political Advisor with Veterans for America First. Glad to meet you via Zoom. How are you this morning?
Very good, sir. Just enjoying a little coffee on the porch.
Looks very nice there.
Yeah,
So,
we're in legislative session right now, so we've got the. I stayed down by the South Carolina Gamecock Stadium, so there's some condos down here, and so perfect morning right now.
very nice. So, I understand you're Trump endorsed. I've researched you. You're an excellent candidate. We have friends across the country that do political consulting, and they say your race is in a good shape. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and your race?
Yeah, so background, originally from Surfside Beach, grew up there, went to University of South Carolina, majored in political science, went to law school in Charleston, where I met my wife, and we moved back to the beach after I got out of school, and we have a 5-year-old son. I've always been a little bit politically active, started at the local grassroots level with the local Republican Party, served on the executive committee to the state Republican Party under Chairman Matt Moore at the time, and then Chad Conley, and now Drew McKissick. In 2015, decided to run for a special election in the Surfside Beach area. There was a vacancy in the House seat, so ran for the South Carolina House of Representatives, won in a 4-way primary, and have served in that capacity since then. Also serve up here as the chief majority whip for the House Republicans. So for the last 2 years, been driving a lot of really good policy, I think, in the state of South Carolina. And of course, Congressman Rice voted to impeach the president and continued to double and triple down on that, being weaponized by the Democrats daily. I think they fundraise off the guy at this point, and said, you know what, I enjoy my service in Columbia, but somebody's got to take a fight to this guy, and we've got to replace our current congressman. And so we jumped in the race, and 6 months later, Donald Trump endorsed our campaign. So I think we're in a good spot. We've been aggressively fundraising. We have been on the ground, making phone calls and door knocking and all the things that campaigns do. So we feel like we're in a good spot right now, and we're going to continue to take that fight to him through June 14th.
And I understand you are an American First candidate. Can you just tell us a little bit about your major platform issues?
Yeah, I think some of the big things, I mean, I've done one of the biggest things to me, and I've done a lot of this at the state level, is work on the opioid epidemic. And what we see, unfortunately, right now are every local government, every community, every state in the country really getting punched through a dramatic rise in fentanyl overdoses. And that's directly attributable. You ask anybody in law enforcement, that's directly attributable to our Swiss cheese approach to the southern border. And I think we have to fix that. I think there's a lot of reasons for that, fentanyl being one of them. Human trafficking, crime. We don't know who are coming in. I think you have to secure the border. I think that's a big, huge issue. I think election integrity is big. We've done a lot of that at the State House. And though I'm pretty reticent about giving the federal government control of elections, I do think that there are things within the purview of the federal government that can be done from a security standpoint, and helping states, but we don't need to federalize it. I think some of those, I think infrastructure is big. In this area, there are in the western part, there are two interstates that kind of touch the district. I think there is one that has at least been permitted, that would run to the coast. I think you gotta look at really infrastructure, but true infrastructure, right? Like the Democrats proposed an infrastructure bill in name only this past year, and it was everything but. And so I think you got to get back to basics. Infrastructure is a core function of government. Military is a core function of government. These are things that should be funded. So I think, and I think really the task of any conservative coming into the next Congress is to be a brake on the most radical administration that this country has ever seen. The guy who billed himself as a moderate has not led, and has led disastrously, particularly on the world stage, as we see with the withdrawal in Afghanistan. You see, obviously, Ukraine. None of this would have happened under President Trump's leadership. We've seen that. I said this at the rally in Florence, and it was kind of funny, but it's very true. This is what happens when you trade General Patton for Gomer Pyle. And this, that failure, that absence of leadership domestically and of course abroad is the reason, in my opinion, why we have the problems that we have today. So I think for any Republican, any conservative, that is a big, one of the biggest objectives is to be that break. I think you obviously have to fix, you have to continue to make our military robust, push very hard. I mean, peace through strength is a big thing. And when you are willing and you are able and you have a big stick, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to use it, but that presence on the world stage really helps us domestically too. So you have to watch that. So I think there's a lot. And when I talk to voters, obviously they're fed up with the current congressman, and they want to talk about the impeachment vote. But to me, it's really interesting because there's not one singular issue. There's inflation, it's gas prices, it's the lack of access to things at the grocery store, it's the inability to get good goods and services, it's Afghanistan, it's election integrity. I mean, there's a lot of issues that are on voters' minds right now. We've seen that in the polls too, that, what's the most important issue to you? Typically you see, the jobs and the economy or this or that and the other that's kind of clearly number one, but in this case, there's a lot on the voters' minds right now.
Well, Russell, I must say, normally I have a lot of other questions for candidates, but you've covered most